and has filed his own complaint against his ex. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After only 6 games, freshman Juju Watkins has broken a school record for USC's women's basketball team. The Watts product scored 30 points Tuesday night in USC's win over Cal Poly. It was Watkins' 4th game of 30 points or more, breaking the freshman mark of 3 games with 30 or more, held by USC legends Lisa Leslie and Paula McGee. USC is 6-0 and ranked 6th in the country. A very interesting night tonight for the Lakers and Clippers. Can both teams bounce back after demoralizing losses on Monday? The Lakers are at Detroit, a team with a 14-game losing streak. The Clippers are 2 games under 500 and are 4-7 since trading for James Harden. A tough back-to-back is coming up for the Clippers. They're at Sacramento tonight, at Golden State on Thursday. We'll see if the Clippers are familiar with something called mental toughness. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Hang all the mistletoe, I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together this Christmas. The fireside is blazing bright, we're caroling through the night, and this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me.
I'm Tavis Smiley. That's Donny Hathaway. And it ain't Christmas for me until I hear that particular track. Kevin Merida is in the studio now, executive editor of the LA Times. We'll introduce him properly in just a second, but he and I were just talking about this song. He said, man, I love this song. And I was telling Kevin the story of this song and how it came to be. Some of you who listen every year around this time have heard this story. For those who haven't heard it, here's the short version. And I'm only telling it because every year I have as a guest on this program, it's a regular thing for me, Kevin, the songwriter, let it ride, Miles, the songwriter of this track, this iconic track. Her name is Nadine McKenna. And sadly, she had a health challenge weeks ago while here in LA visiting her son. And I literally just went to the hospital the other day to visit with her. And we had a great time. She's recovering. She's recovering, but she got quite the road in front of her. And I only say that because she comes here every year to tell the story of how she wrote this song. It is the quintessential Black celebratory anthem of any holiday season. Of course, there's Lift Every Voice and Sing, but you think Lift Every Voice and Sing and this Christmas for anthems, they don't get much bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
And so Nadine McKenna was working in the post office in the city of Chicago. Wanted to be a songwriter, was in fact a songwriter, wrote this song, tried to get it to Curtis Mayfield, didn't have the connection to get it to Curtis Mayfield, but somebody at the post office, Negro, somebody knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew Donny Hathaway, who was just breaking out with his first big hit, The Ghetto. And they got the song to Donny Hathaway, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, you love that story. That's a great story, and that's a follow your dream story.
Exactly. And for all these years, everybody named Mama has covered it. It all started with a sister with 2 boys, single mom, working in the post office on the south side of Chicago.
Love that story.
Yeah, man. And that's how. All right, turn it up, Miles. Let it ride, and we'll finish it.
And this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me. Merry Christmas. Shake a hand, shake a hand now.
See, this is why I love Kevin Merida. That there aren't too many brothers running major media outlets that you can rock this Christmas with in the studio, and they bobbing their head and bouncing their feet, patting their feet. Such is the story of what makes Kevin Merida such a unique personality in the world of media today. He is the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times, and I am honored to have this rare conversation with him. Newspapers and media are in the blood of Kevin Merida, from the Dallas Morning News to the Washington Post, where I first met him decades ago, to ESPN, now the Los Angeles Times. When it comes to black folk running major news outlets, Kevin Merida is as big as they come, and I am honored and humbled to have him live in studio for the hour. Kevin Merida, there's your formal welcome, my friend. Good to see you.
No, I appreciate it, Tavis, and yeah, we go back a long way, and
we do,
and certainly remember like the conversation Tom joined the morning show.
Oh yeah, way back,
but that's great.
As we say around here, we're rooting for everybody black. And when the word came, and I didn't see this coming. Nobody did. When the word came that you were going to be the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times, I froze. I stopped. I remember exactly where I was when I heard the news. I froze for a moment, and before I knew it, tears just started running down my face. I've never told you this story. Tears started running down my face, man, because I've lived in this city for most of my life, and to have a brother of your stature running the Los Angeles Times is a really, really big deal. But I think I got emotional because I've known you for so long. And again, I'm rooting for everybody black. And just to see your friends elevate, to see I've always been that way. I've never been a hater. I mean, when my friends do well, I'm the number one cheerleader, man. And so I just love the idea that they were wise enough to choose you to run this establishment. So all that said, then after I stopped crying, I asked myself, why would this Negro want to run any newspaper anywhere in America right now? And so let's start our conversation there. Given the state of this business, I'm doing the radio thing, and this ain't easy.
Yeah.
But why would any black man who wants to succeed choose to run a newspaper in America right now, Kevin Merida?
Yeah. Well, look, it's a long story. It's interesting you said that story. I'm humbled by just that story you told. Right. I have a similar story. When I was at the Washington Post, that's my hometown, right? And it's obviously people know it's a great national paper, but it's my hometown paper. And when I was named managing editor of the Washington Post, and I was the first African American managing editor, it was great. But I was doing my work, and I'm busy with stories, and there were crises, and I'm not really processing it like you would process that achievement until I got home and I'm looking through messages, and I got this note. Simeon Booker, the late Simeon Booker, was the first black reporter at the Washington Post, and obviously had a legendary career at Jet and other places.
Won the Pulitzer.
Yeah, covered Emmett Till trial and all these things, and sent me this note about how proud he was and some of the struggle. And I was driving home after I had read that, and tears came down to my eyes, and it was the first time I processed what it meant to other people. Yeah. Because I was just doing my work, and so I think we all have some of that. Like when we see others succeed and break through, we certainly have too many first still. Like we shouldn't be in the first business at this point in 2023, but unfortunately we still are. And every time you see that achievement, you think about wow, that's great for somebody else. Newspapers, I grew up.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Let me do this. You know how radio works.
Yes.
When we come forward, I'll let you tell the story about newspapers. And a quick footnote I want to share about Simeon Booker. You're listening to Kevin Merida, executive editor of the LA Times, on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat in the Lex since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Coming 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Deal it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with the CHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with one of the panelists, the owner of Kids Love. Take a listen.
So Kids Love, KIDSLUV, is a first-to-market zero-sugar, vitamin-enhanced functional beverage for kids.
So the zero sugar is really important because if not, the sugar gets on the teeth, it can cause cavities. So as a mom, I love this vitamins and hydration in one. Tell us what's happening here with Chase Bank today.
So I would say, I think what Chase is trying to do is create a community actually for entrepreneurs, a place where people can go. They have the space to do it. It's a beautiful space. And to be able to have these conversations. There are so many benefits to being a women-owned and certified business from a standpoint of getting into stores, not paying the slotting fees of what it takes to be in stores. So I think Chase is trying to bring awareness to a lot of the things that people just don't know about, that not only the bank can help, but outside of the bank, their relationships can help create.
That's beautiful. And I know, this is how we build equity in communities of color, is kind of spreading that information and that knowledge. So thank you for being here today and doing your part and letting these women know that it is possible.
For KBLA 1580, I'm Maisha Cairo in the community with Chase.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area, featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley in conversation with Kevin Merida, who is the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times. A rare opportunity to talk to him for the hour, and I'm delighted that he made his way down to our studio for this conversation. So, Simeon Booker, and then get your story about newspapers. I was once on Capitol Hill. Simeon's such a great photographer, to your point, iconic photographer. And I was on Capitol Hill one day, and he saw me, walked over and introduced himself. and I was just shocked that it was him. And I said, take a picture of me. I want a picture of me taken by Simeon Booker. And he took it, and I have it to this day.
That's great, man.
He just laughed. I said, take a picture of me, man.
Yeah.
I want a picture of me taken by you in my catalog.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was an amazing story. But I was honored to meet him. I only met him that one time, though.
Wow.
Just that one time. But to know that, to hear your story, like him sending you a note, that was powerful to hear. All right. So my question was, why any brother who wants to succeed at what he does would, and all I've ever known from you is success. Why run a newspaper now, Kevin Merida?
Well, look, newspapers have a storied history. I mean, there was a time when newspapers were the primary, vehicle for getting news. That and network television, big news stories and local television. I think obviously the ecosystem of media has grown and broadened and widened, but newspapers are still very important. Some of the greatest journalism are done by newspapers, and we also those of us who have been in newspaper business for a long time, really, fighting to save our craft. Journalism is here to stay because I think journalism's been attacked and bullied and threatened, and it's still here. The LA Times has been here 140 years, has a storied tradition. Hey, we won 2 Pulitzers last year, this year. And so we're still doing this great work, but the economic model of newspapers is what's been difficult to sort out, and you've got to fight to change it. You've got to experiment. We're in a digital era where if we're going to survive, we have to transform newspapers and make them exciting to a new generation who didn't grow up reading newspapers. That's how I got in journalism. I grew up reading newspapers. I grew up reading the sports page. The late great Shirley Povich, was my introduction to it. I delivered papers as a kid, and so I had that experience, watching my dad, mom read the paper. But a lot of kids have grown up, they don't have that experience, and so it's kind of a relic to them, and we've got to tell them it's not a relic. It's vibrant and necessary and irresistible, and we've got to create that for people, which we're trying to do here at the LA Times.
Yep. I want to challenge you on something you said a moment ago, and that is this notion that journalism is here to stay. I want to believe that you're right about that. That journalism is here to stay. I'm convinced that corporate media is here to stay. I'm not so sure that I buy into your notion and your narrative that journalism is here to stay, in part for all the reasons you already sort of laid out, that it's been so attacked viciously, not just by Donald Trump, but also on all sorts of other fronts. So convince me, disabuse me of the notion that journalism ain't here to stay.
Well, who's going to go out and do the work and reveal what hasn't been revealed and tell the stories? I mean, that's everything from, hey, today, a great piece today about the exploitation of day laborers by Brittany Mejia, who's one of our really tremendous reporters. Somebody has to go out and do the reporting and show what is going on. As Marvin Gaye said, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You got to, people have to go out there and do that reporting. Got to dig up public records, challenge, authorities that won't give information willingly through the courts, knock on doors, find out what people won't let you know. But also, I think journalism is new products and new ways of reaching people. So journalism is tremendous investigative reporting and accountability reporting of the kind that we did with the City Hall, the leaked audio tape that ended up causing the resignations of members of the city council and others. But it's also Delos, which is a new platform, a new product that we've created, a multimedia product aimed at an English-speaking Latino population, a new population. It's vibrant. It's got its own site. It's It's visually exciting. You know, we go out into the neighborhoods and do community events. That's journalism too. You know, in this era. And so I don't think journalism can be stopped. Only we can stop it. I think we have to figure out the economic model. But and I grant you this. It's a crisis for us in this country. I think something like, I saw a study where 2 newspapers a day on average, 2 newspapers a week are folding.
Going under, yeah.
And local news is so important. And so if you're in Los Angeles and you're in this area, man, you need the LA Times. If the LA Times wasn't here, that would be one of the biggest tragedies that we know, because there would be so much that you wouldn't know, and there would be so many places that weren't held accountable if you didn't have a Los Angeles Times.
We're heard across the country, and you have worked across the country. As I mentioned, Dallas Morning News, Washington Post, LA Times, ESPN. We'll talk about later. But what's your takeaway? You've been in this game a long time. What's your takeaway vis-a-vis or regarding the way that media covers communities of color? What's your indictment? I assume you have an indictment. I hope you do.
Well, this is what I say. I think we have not been, historically great, right? Like, and some of that has been the fact that we didn't have people to look like us. And I mentioned Brittany Mejia, looked like Brittany Mejia, and looked like Teresa Watanabe, and others. We haven't been as diverse, and that has hurt us, and people had to break down the gates, and a lot of people who came before us did that. And so some of it, I feel an obligation by all the work that people did before us to get us to this point. It's significantly better than it's ever been. I would not say, hey, in every community, in every place, there's still too many communities of color where you go in and no one's ever seen a journalist. Never seen one of any kind come in there to tell stories. And so we have to do better than that. And that's the argument for journalism. The people who go into places and tell the stories. I mean, we sometimes have been in this digital age where we have all of the tools, which are great. We can find people easily. We can sit at our desk and track people down. We got records everywhere we can check, and we even getting to this point now where people sometimes send texts to get people to get quotes back. But we've got to really emphasize the need to go out, see things, observe, talk to people, and discover the stories. Not only be at our cubicles and in our newsrooms and map out what we think the story is, but go out and discover stories. And we got to do that in greater abundance to really truly tell everybody's story.
Yep. Well, you mentioned a paper like the Washington Post, where you were the first African American to be the managing editor. All sorts of great stories come to mind about the impact that paper has had in this country. I don't need to tell this very wise audience all that the Washington Post has all the stories they've broken, all the things that they have done, from Watergate on down. We all know what the Washington Post has done over many, many decades. I guess the question I want to ask is whether or not you think that the pen, and nowadays everybody's on computer, but you take my metaphor here, whether or not the pen is still pregnant with that kind of power.
Yeah, I do. I think writing is. I sometimes say writing is a skill that's like shooting. I play a lot of basketball growing up. Don't play as much now.
You ain't got time.
Yeah, but got some nagging injuries too.
There you go. That too.
But I used to say, if you can shoot, you can play this game forever. You may not be as athletic as you once were, or move but if you can shoot, you can get on the basketball court and play that game forever. And I say the thing about writing in our craft. If you can write, that's a transferable skill in every era of journalism. Because I don't care if you're doing podcasts or, video work or making documentaries. Writing is a skill that that helps you. So to me, writing is at the heart of storytelling. And I think you always will have a place. So I love all the other forms. We've got visual forensics, visual investigations, big fan of photography and illustrations and all the things we can do, animation. But the ability to write will take you into every place you need to be. And I think capturing stories through the written word is still a very important part of our profession.
One of the reasons I offered some pushback earlier when you said that you believe that journalism is here to stay, and I said I hope you're right about that. I want you to be right about that. One of the reasons I push back on that, Kevin, is because I'm concerned about the condition of truth in our society writ large. And we look for journalists to do what? Tell us the truth. So this is a broad question, somewhat philosophical. Take it the way you want to take it. But to your mind, what is, in this moment in late modernity, the condition of truth in our society?
Yeah. Well, look, we've got a big issue there, and that's been one of the downsides of the technological revolution, the digital revolution, is that people can manipulate truth. Misinformation and disinformation is a big problem in our society, and you do worry about kids growing up and coming into their own and what they're learning and how they're learning and the ability to discern what is true or not. And it's becoming increasingly difficult for that to happen. I think a lot of people are attacking that problem. I think it's, there have been some big efforts, places like the Aspen Institute, and hey, even former President Barack Obama has taken that on as a subject. We have projects like the News Literacy Project, which is founded by a former LA Times journalist that's gone into schools and to really teach literacy, news literacy. I think we've got to do that at greater, be even more sophisticated and scale up on news literacy. But we've also got to develop technology to determine what is true and not, which we can do. And I think it is a big issue. So that's in part. Attacking that is also part of protecting and advancing journalism. Because I think journalism is different than, hey, talking about things, being on X, screaming at other people with 25 followers, and no identity to know who they are.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say. People who are really journalists go out and do the hard work, do the most difficult reporting, because the population of serious journalists have been shrinking. We need to grow that population because we need more people out doing the most difficult reporting and work.
You said a few things now I want to interrogate when we come forward. Let me just tell you where I want to go as we continue this dialogue with the executive editor, the brother executive editor of the LA Times, Kevin Merida. In no particular order, you talk about news literacy. When we come forward, I want to talk about the literacy or lack thereof of everyday people. The question may not be whether or not journalism is going to survive. The question may be, are people going to want to continue reading? I'm concerned about the fact that so many of us, we just got this is just me, you ain't got to say this, Kevin. We have a dumbed down demos. It's just a fact. We have a dumbed down demos, and Negroes, people, everyday people, Americans just don't want to read. And I got a problem with that. I want to talk about reading. That's the other side of journalism. You can write it, but if don't nobody read it, we got a problem here, right? We'll talk about that. I want to talk about AI and the impact it's going to have on this business. I don't want to make you too uncomfortable. I want to talk about billionaire owners. You mentioned X, but all these billionaires buying all these papers and outlets, including the LA Times. We'll talk about that and a great deal more. I am honored to have Kevin Merida, the executive editor of the LA Times, in studio right now on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth. Speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A California congressman is moving to force another expulsion vote on embattled GOP Representative George Santos. Democrat Robert Garcia says he believes the third time's the charm in ousting Santos from Congress. It comes after the House Ethics Committee released a scathing report about the Long Island freshman breaking campaign finance laws and stealing from donors to pay for Botox treatments and designer clothing, among other things. Sean Diddy Combs is stepping down as chairman of his media company, Revolt. The African-American mogul made the decision to temporarily step back last week. The move comes after 3 sexual lawsuits were filed against him, including a lawsuit by a former girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After only 6 games, freshman Juju Watkins has broken a school record for USC's women's basketball team. The Watts product scored 30 points Tuesday night in USC's win over Cal Poly. It was Watkins' 4th game of 30 points or more, breaking the freshman mark of 3 games with 30 or more, held by USC legends Lisa Leslie and Paula McGee. USC is 6-0 and ranked 6th in the country. A very interesting night tonight for the Lakers and Clippers. Can both teams bounce back after demoralizing losses on Monday? The Lakers are at Detroit, a team with a 14-game losing streak. The Clippers are 2 games under 500 and are 4-7 since trading for James Harden. A tough back-to-back is coming up for the Clippers. They're at Sacramento tonight, at Golden State on Thursday. We'll see if the Clippers are familiar with something called mental toughness. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
What will you find at Macy's Backstage? How about the perfect holiday gifts, just $25 and under, like matching family PJs, fragrance sets, toys, and more. Find the latest trends, new arrivals, and great prices at a Macy's Backstage store near you.
In association with KBLA Talk 1580, the Terry Claiborne Foundation presents its 26th annual holiday party, Saturday, December 9th, featuring live entertainment, celebrity appearances, plus food and drinks. There is a cover charge for this party of the season, but not if you're one of our special guests. All you have to do is go to our website at KBLA1580.com and sign up. That's it. That's all. Just sign up at KBLA1580.com and you could win entrance to the soiree of the season. But whether you win or not, get a ticket, support the kids, and come join us on the red carpet in your semi-formal club attire and celebrate the season with KBLA Talk 1580 and the Terry Claiborne Foundation as we collect toys for the youth in our community. That's Saturday, December 9th, 1110 South La Cienega Boulevard, just south of Olympic. It's a holiday party with a purpose.
I'm Terry Claiborne. It's going to be a party. Come hang out with us.
Hey, it's Amanda, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A nugget trays is that they're so easy for the holidays. They're warm and flavorful. It's always a crowd pleaser. When I put down a nugget tray, everyone is happy.
Hey, this is Brian, and the little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A nugget trays is the joy that it brings to me and everybody around me during the holidays. They're warm, juicy, and delicious.
Cater the holidays with Chick-fil-A today. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Our guest is Kevin Merida, the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times, and I'm honored to have this brother in our studio in this hour. I was saying before that break, Kev, that that it's one thing for journalism to survive, but for it to survive, it needs people to read it. And I am getting more and more disturbed every day by people I work with and people I see and people I know and people I'm just around who just don't value reading. They don't put the time in to just read the material. And not just everyday people, just take it to the top. We've had presidents. I mean, Donald Trump was famous for not reading. And even George W. Bush, didn't spend as much time just briefing books as he probably should have. So, I mean, from the highest levels of our society down to everyday people, I'm just concerned about our disinterest in reading. Does that make sense?
Yeah, look, I love to read, and now being on the Pulitzer board, I'm thrust. A lot of books come to me because we're judging them, and it's also kind of opened up my reading habits because I'm reading much more widely than I ever did. But we have one of the great things is we have ways to even read because now we have so many e-books and audio books, sure. And we have a lot of ways to reach people through the written word, audibly too, and so hopefully that attracts people. Particularly when you're starting out young, you usually develop a habit of reading when you're young, and I'm hoping that our schools will continue to engage kids with ways to think about the world and books that can captivate them, and I think reading is certainly important. But I think we also have to reach audiences in different ways and be mindful that there are other ways to reach people. Like we're not gonna kick people off of TikTok, we're not gonna we're not gonna shut down the ways that people engage, and so I think we've got to tell stories and find ways to bring the same knowledge into where the people themselves are, where young people are. Wherever there's a platform that creates engagement, whether that's Reddit or Twitch or Instagram, find ways to engage people with knowledge and tell stories and give links so people can go back and get the history they need. And I think we have more ways to do that than ever before.
Yeah, I mentioned Donald Trump a moment ago, and it's not just him. There are countless others I can name if I had the time. But what's your read on the way that the news business, news media, has come under attack from people at the highest levels of government?
Look, it's certainly unfortunate, right, that you have anybody at the level of president to attacking the First Amendment and essentially attacking those who are there to bring factual information to a public that needs it. But that journalism has always been under attack. People sometimes they don't like the journalism that's produced, and so they attack it. And so I always say we can't be in the thin-skinned business. I think we do have to fight for the sanctity of our profession. We have to fight against any encroachment, certainly in the law and in the courts against our profession. But we can't be thin-skinned about it or afraid or retiring and retreating. We got to be aggressive about claiming it, our profession, and continuing to push it forward. So, it's not great when people of stature, in this country would attack media, but I think we can't be cowed by that.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the great journalist Simeon Booker at the top of this program. I'm just curious, put you on the spot here. What's your best pitch? Your best pitch for young persons of color to consider journalism as a profession these days?
Look, I think, for one thing, it's a continuing education. You can go into that profession and it's just to say you love sports. Sports was always something that you played as a kid. Now you can go in and cover teams and tell stories and reflect the lives of people who otherwise just may be your sports heroes and tell those stories. If you love food, there's a place for you in our profession. If you love movies, music, there's a place for you in this profession. You love politics, there's a place for you in this profession. Every subject that may fascinate you, may interest you, you can go cover it and become an expert in that area. And in the process, learn, because I say that, the education I've received in journalism, I would not have been able to afford. I couldn't have paid for that education. All of the places I've been, the people I've sat down with and gotten to meet and speak of it, and one level that's journalism, knows the stories, but it's also just I'm learning, and if we can continue to kind of open our mind and see everybody, then that's a gift to you, for your life. And so it's a great profession. It's not static, and almost any kind of thing that you would like to do, including like, hey, I want to make films. I want to do this. Well, actually, we do that now in journalism. We have documentaries, we have short form video. So there's really nothing you can't do of interest.
I love that answer. It's a great answer. It's continuing education. I just said earlier today on this program, I said all the time that every day I walk out of the studio, I leave out smarter than I came in. So for me, the joy of doing what I do every day is continuing education. I'm learning stuff every single day. There's nothing that quite excites me like being able to learn something new every day. I'm still fascinated by that even all these years later. How is AI, since it's impacting everything else in the world, obviously, how is it going to impact the news business in the years to come?
Well, I think we're going to figure it out. I think, we can't retreat from technology. I mean, our profession was among the slowest to adapt to the internet and the advantages of digital platforms. And now I think with AI, I think we have a cross-company committee that's looking at it and seeing what applications that might make sense for us. And, you could certainly see some things that AI could help with, just, hey, organizing our archive, for instance, taking documents, vast amounts of documents that reporters have to do and annotate them quickly, so that they can get a quicker look at them. There are lots of applications. I don't think that AI is going to replace the working journalist, that goes in and goes out and reports and the nuance and sophistication. You know, it's not going to replace that core thing that we do. You know, that human beings do, but anything that enhances our ability to be better is going to be probably, you know, technology has its benefits, and you also always need guardrails on technology and rules and regulations.
Kevin Merida is the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times. He's our guest in studio right now, and we're glad about it. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on! What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Discover, this is Danny.
Hi, it's Jen Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Are you hungry? 'Cause everyone left after the asparagus sorbet.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times, Kevin Merida, who is in studio with us right now. I was saying to Kevin during one of the breaks that some time ago you were atop my prayer list, primarily because I saw the story that.
I need that.
Yeah. We all need a little prayer, I guess. But I prayed for you that day because I saw the story of all the layoffs that you had to announce and enact at the Los Angeles Times. And to be sure, you ain't the only one doing that. The LA Times didn't invent layoffs, somebody once said. So all kinds of papers and other entities, and I've had to do that in my business. But there's nothing, I think, that weighs heavier on the heart when you have to lay people off. How did you navigate through that?
Yeah, it was very difficult, and people lose their jobs. They have understandable anger and pain. with some they're not expecting it. You're working so, and it's just hard to figure out too. Of how to do it even, and so you carry that with you because we're all human, and so you try to do the best you can. I think the thing with leadership is that you have to be willing to do the difficult things too. It's part of the job. You don't relish, like when we had those layoffs, it was not long before we were out in the courtyard in El Segundo, where our building on the patio celebrating 2 Pulitzer Prizes, and everybody, and toasting, clicking glasses of champagne, and had a nice event that evening on a rooftop, and it's great to have those celebratory moments. You feel great, and you feel like your work matters, and you're getting recognized. And then when things like this happen and prolong what happened during the layoffs themselves and the aftermath, you have to just, try to continue to lead in difficult times. And I think that's part of the job of leadership. And so, it wasn't pleasant by any means, needless to say, but it's great when you have, sometimes, there's so much that goes into work. You put a lot of hours into it, but you realize that's not your entire life, right? Yeah. And it's not the sum of who you are, right? We all have multiple identities, and we came into this world. We weren't born journalists. And so, my wife is great with that because she's spiritual, and she really has a high plane about spirituality. So she was really excellent during that time. And you just realize, you can be with your family, and you can be, you can understand that this doesn't define you.
Yeah. And your wife Donna is an amazing writer in her own right.
Yeah, she is.
Pretty amazing writer herself.
Selfishly say that.
Yeah, I used to read her stuff all the time in the Post when she was doing it regularly. And she does what she wants to now, but I love Donna's stuff. Our remaining moments with Kevin Merida when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found BenefitsCheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area, featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
It's a strange question to ask Kevin Merida because he works at a paper that has a billionaire owner. So I'm not talking about him. I'm just talking about largely how we should read that all these billionaires want to own media properties, whether it's Elon Musk at X or Jeff Bezos at your former paper, the Washington Post, or a bunch of others I should name. What's that about?
Well, look, I'll first say all billionaires are not created equal. Right?
Fair enough.
But you know, it's good when people of means have that sense of civic responsibility, you know, and wanting to do something to, you know, further that, you know, in society and support journalism. You know, Jeff Bezos, I got a chance to work with him. I was there when he took over, and certainly Patrick Soon-Shiong and his family purchasing the LA Times, and, you know, 5 years and the commitment to make sure that this place survives, you know. And it's important anytime people are doing it, because they're not doing it because this is some new gold rush adventure and we're going to make whole lots of money. It's you know, you start with the understanding it's a very challenging business model. It's you know, a newspaper is not a 21st century business, right? Like, people are not generally saying, I'm going to start a newspaper.
Yeah.
It's really kind of an inapt noun for now. But I just say I applaud them. I think the people who've gone in and either started new things or taken big institutions that might have been struggling and lift them up, they've you know, they should get our applause. Yeah.
I got 2 minutes left here. I could have started our conversation here, but it's a great place to close, I think. When you were a kid running around delivering newspapers, what was your dream? What did you hope or believe or want your life to become? I can't imagine it was executive editor of the Los Angeles Times. So what were your dreams as a kid?
You know, like a lot of kids, I probably harbored that fantasy of playing professional sports. You know, when I was really, really young, it was football, and then it became basketball. And, you know, you realize quickly, like, hey, you know, I wasn't 6'5". You know, you realize quickly that that's a very hard dream. And, you know, there's a time when even fashion designer, I love fashion, but I couldn't draw. So that, you know, kind of went out the way. But when I started reading sports and started reading and seeing the newspaper, I started thinking about that. And there was a teacher that got me thinking about that in 6th grade. You know, Mr. Wilson. Oh, yeah. You know, he's the one that started saying, like, look, you know, this could be a career, and began to think about it. And then it was enhanced by a high school teacher named Linda Warner, who's still around, I still see, who pushed me into, like, writing contests and made me work on the student newspaper at school, even though I had to stay after school and we were getting bussed at the time. I'd be getting home at 7 o'clock. So people who believe in you, because we all need somebody to believe in us, right?
That's right.
Like,
absolutely.
And help us see our dreams. Sometimes you can't even see your dreams.
That's right. No, I the moral of that story for me, and I was just talking to Randy Weingarten, the president of American Federation of Teachers yesterday. Teachers matter, man.
Oh my goodness.
Teachers matter, and the fact that you are at this age and you're still calling out their names. Yeah. I can call Mrs. Vera Graft, Mr. Jackson in 5th grade, Mr. Beal in 12th grade. Teachers make a difference in our lives, man, and none of us are where we are.
They may be the most underrated, profession.
No question about it. Most underrated and underpaid. And those two things go together in America. Underrated, oftentimes underpaid. But anyway, I'm delighted to have had you come here. I believe that that this program is at its best when we are, as black media, asking questions that others don't ask, raising issues others don't raise, addressing topics others want to avoid, and profiling others who deserve and have earned the right to be profiled. And I celebrate any brother or sister who has risen to the level that Kevin Merida has risen to, being the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times. That is a big deal. And Kevin, I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you, Tavis, and you've been out here a long time doing this, and respect to you.
Likewise, man, likewise. That's our program for today. 3 hours, poof, gone just like that. Back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. I'm grateful for you. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A California congressman is moving to force another expulsion vote on embattled GOP Representative George Santos. Democrat Robert Garcia says he believes the third time's the charm in ousting Santos from Congress. It comes after the House Ethics Committee released a scathing report about the Long Island freshman breaking campaign finance laws and stealing from donors to pay for Botox treatments and designer clothing, among other things. Sean Diddy Combs is stepping down as chairman of his media company, Revolt. The African-American mogul made the decision to temporarily step back last week. The move comes after 3 sexual lawsuits were filed against him, including a lawsuit by a former girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A popular soul food restaurant in downtown LA was a crime scene Tuesday night because of a fatal shooting inside the restaurant. The black-owned venue, Fixin' Soul Kitchen, is owned by former NBA player Kevin Johnson. A man walked into the upscale restaurant and shot a 43-year-old man. A woman seated nearby suffered minor injuries. The man died from the gunshots. No suspects are in custody. LAPD is investigating. Johnson played 13 seasons in the NBA before retiring in 1999. Since retiring, he's been involved in numerous projects to bring wealth to the black community. A majority of Johnson's staff at Fixin's is black. The good news is that Johnson's restaurant was able to reopen today. The sad thing is that a good guy like Kevin Johnson and his staff have to regroup from gun violence in